The way Teofimo fought Sandor Martin, he would probably get knocked the out if he fought Josh Taylor like that, if I'm being honest.
How can I die if I'm immortal? Monster in my eyes, I'm immoral. I ain't got no time to be cordial.
Tomorrow night is Teofimo Lopez versus Josh Taylor. First, we're going to start with Lopez, then we're going to go to Taylor, then we're going to finish off with the hypothesis. So let's get straight into it. Teofimo has a bad habit of lunging in, at least versus opponents that are fighting from the outside mostly. And when he's on the front foot, we'll talk about that more later, but let's look at some examples. Overextending. And you're going to see that right hook show up a lot, by the way. Notice how he got caught with another right hook. A combo or a tool that is going to be successful for Teo, I think, is the 2-1 combo or 2-3 combo, where he steps in with the right hand and then tries to cut him off with a jab or a hook. Talking more about Teo's lead hook, I think you're going to see him use that to try and stop the southpaw Taylor from taking that dominant outside angle. He's going to step in and jump around. He takes a lot of different weird angles because he's explosive. Another one. What Teo should have did more, and he did a good job with at times, was feinting and slipping with his upper body movement to set up and disguise his shots. And that allowed him to back up Martin and corner him against the ropes where Teo could unleash combos. We'll talk more about that later. In an open stance matchup, it's always important to look at what's happening with the lead hands and the lead feet. So with Teo, he's not really probing as much, he's smacking the lead hand down. He's kind of like smacking it out the way. And when he smacks it, that gives him the opportunity to kind of like push him inside and threaten the hook, which makes him go a little bit further inside, and he can try and put his foot on the outside to get a better lining up angle for that backhand. Before we get into the next part, sometimes he gets sloppy when he's forced to be the pressure fighter and forced to initiate on the front foot. He's much more naturally a counterpuncher. So when he's forced to put on the pressure, you see he's overextending and making a lot of technical mistakes. And he leaves himself open sometimes. And one of the things he was open to was a couple things, the jab and the left hand. And so that time, Sandor Martin actually stepped in with a left hand. You know, a lot of times he was catching Teo coming in. Like I said, Teo's a natural counterpuncher, a natural good counterpuncher. And so he was countering with the left hook a lot of times, and he found a lot of success with that. He also found various other counters throughout the fight, like the right hand and other things like that. And when Teofimo was trying to enter into range, sometimes he would play with his feet and try and like stagger these stutter steps and stuff. But then sometimes he would get timed with a good jab. Towards the middle of the fight with Sandor, he started adjusting his strategy to try and corner him. And what he would do is he'd throw the 2 to the body and trying to land the 3 when Sandor was trying to escape to the outside. And he was trying to corner him against the ropes with the 2s to the body. I was talking about cornering him with the 2 to the body, but what happens when he does corner him? He starts landing some pretty good shots. So he's throwing that 4 to corner him in, and then he's going to try and unload a combo once he gets him cornered against the ropes. What's going to be one of the most important aspects of the fight is the jab battle. So Teofimo doesn't really throw a jab that much. Josh Taylor works behind that lead hand a lot. He's usually feinting and probing, but he does throw a jab. Teofimo was not really throwing a jab much this fight. And as far as the jab battle goes, Sandor Martin was winning that one dominantly. And what happens is when you start winning a jab battle, you start controlling the pace, you start controlling the timing, you start controlling the range. And so if Teo's fighting with pressure and he's trying to walk Josh Taylor down and he's getting backed up with the jab, he's getting slowed down with the jab, he can't let any punches go because he's getting countered with the jab. It's like that changes everything about the fight, and Josh Taylor can really beat him up if he starts dominating with the jab. So you catch him coming in, slow him down, make him think. Now we move on to Josh Taylor. And at the end, I'm going to make my full prediction of what I think is going to happen. But one thing I know for sure is that there's going to be a lot of clinching. So we'll break down Josh Taylor's clinches and what's going on there. So he kind of crashes in, smothers, and then he's on the inside and he starts clinching and he tries to wrap up the arms. And we're going to talk about what he does in the clinch later. But I'm just going to give some examples of him crashing in and initiating the clinch. He's usually using this to shut down the opponent's offense, so that he can regain control of the pace. Also, when he's in the clinch, he gets the opportunity to start manipulating his opponents and landing some shots that he lands later down the line and really start wearing and tearing on them, bullying them, all types of stuff. Speaking of control, one thing he does well is trying to control his opponent's reactions with feints. So you see he does a feint and he delays and he steps in and he lands a jab after. He's going to do it here too. Controlling his reactions, and then lines up the left hand. One major difference between Sandor Martin and Josh Taylor is that Josh Taylor is going to stand in front of Teofimo a lot more, and that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Teofimo's offense. The one thing Ramirez did good was trying to work that body. Remember what I was saying about Teofimo's cross to the body, that too. Another one right here. Beautiful uppercuts. Another difference between Taylor and Sandor is that Taylor's gonna back Teofimo up with some combos. So Teo's not gonna be on the front foot all the time because Taylor's gonna back him up. I mentioned control, control, control. That's what Josh Taylor is really about. So here's another example of him controlling, but this time being more of a bully, being physical, manipulating the guard, manipulating the opponent's head and shoulders. So he can circle around and take angles and land better shots. Here's another example of him being a physical bully. Holding that head down a little bit. So if you look, Ramirez is throwing a cross to the body and Taylor's cornered. So when Taylor's cornered, like I said before, Teo can start unleashing combos. But Taylor does a good job of escaping, but Teo could cut him off. Like how he was doing earlier. He would throw the two to the body, then a left hook to catch him while they're trying to escape around that outside angle. Although Teo doesn't throw much of a jab, he does have a good left hook. And that can be used to counter Taylor coming in. Because that's where Teo was finding a lot of success with his counters, especially countering his opponent coming in. 2-1 combo. Same one we talked about with Teo. Or 2-3. Here, Teo can find success with this. Ramirez is a decent analog for Teofimo, not the best, but the idea is that somebody with explosive entries that's coming forward can catch Taylor, and Teofimo is more explosive than Ramirez, so he could catch Taylor with some of the shots that Ramirez was missing. Josh Taylor has an accurate and deadly left hand, the cross, the two, and I'll go through a compilation of him landing that. As good as Teofimo's left hook is, we saw he was very susceptible to that southpaw counter 3, and Josh Taylor was landing that a lot as well. He's capable of landing this shot. I think when you're watching this fight, pay attention to the early rounds. because early on in the first round, you can see Josh Taylor feinting the uppercut, and he's looking for the uppercut for later on. And then he starts finding it, and he sticks to it for the rest of the fight once he drops Ramirez. So look, he's looking for it in the clinch, on the escape, and on the entry. He's gonna look for another one. This time he lands it. And there's another one on the entry this time. I talked about the lead hand a lot. I talked about control. Well, here's some examples of Josh Taylor controlling him with the lead hand some more. Backs up Ramirez, makes him reset. I mean, that's how you control the fight. It's subtle, but it's big in the grand scheme of things.
How do you change up the top 10 in the pound for pound? For Josh Taylor, if he can get the finish that he says.
And that lead hand control also sets up all the other shots that Josh Taylor is looking for as well. I want to go back to the left hands we were talking about. I also talked about Teofimo landing the 2-1 combo, which I think could be really successful. But Josh Taylor countered the 2-1 combo in this fight, and that was his biggest shot, arguably, or second biggest shot. So look, he throws the right hand lands on the top of the head, and he pulls, comes back around, and as Ramirez is finna throw that jab, Taylor's already turning that left hand over to land across the chin. So Taylor's capable of countering that 2-1 combo. He's gonna pull from the right and then counter as soon as that right hand is going back. Last thing about Taylor, he's super sneaky. Sometimes he does dirty stuff, but sometimes he does real smooth stuff too. So he gets in the clinch. And if you look at this fight, most of the time he clinches up and he grabs the arms, tries to control, tries to get underneath. What he does is that instead of going over top and like trying to pull in the arms, he slips his arms underneath, and he lets Ramirez lean his weight on him, and it tries to slip that uppercut underneath. It's pretty smooth and sneaky too. This is the hypothesis, so this is my prediction. Probably going to see a notable amount of clinching and inside work from Taylor. For Teo to hurt Taylor, he'll have to hit him with something unseen, which would probably be a 2-1 or a 2-3 combo. He could hurt him with a right hand, but it feels less likely. So, and I also say this would be the battle of the lead hooks. And I give an example during the Ramirez and Taylor exchange. So they're on the inside. Ramirez throws a left hook. Josh Taylor throws a right hook. Ramirez throws a left hook. Josh Taylor throws a right hook. Ramirez throws a left hook. So I think if especially when they're on the inside, it's going to be a lot of lead hook exchanges. But even on the outside, they're going to be countering each other coming in and countering each other going out with the lead hooks. So I think you're going to see a lot of threes. Also, I think Taylor's going to get caught with some big shots early on. And then over time, he's going to start adapting to find counters to the entries of Teofimo. So early on, I think you're going to see some success from Teofimo. I think he's going to be landing some big shots that surprise Josh Taylor. But over time, Josh Taylor's going to start countering, and then he's going to start controlling the fight with his jab and his lead hand. And then Teofimo will get impatient, especially if Josh fights the right fight, which is kind of like the fight he fought here. But even in this fight, I think he should stay more on the outside compared to what he did with Teofimo. But he could break Teofimo down if he fights on the inside and works that body. But that also gives Teofimo more opportunities to hurt him. Overall, I think it's like 65-35 in favor of Taylor. I think Taylor's gonna outbox him pretty cleanly, but Teo has a high percentage puncher's chance. Teo's very dangerous, Teo's very explosive, and Teo's very unorthodox. He'll do some stuff that Josh isn't prepared for. In order for Teo to win, he has to work behind the jab, level change to the body, and then patiently set up shots up top. He has to be careful in the clinch, and don't let him bully your son. Don't let them bully your son. He has to get Josh Taylor on the ropes and punish him with combos. The way Teofimo fought Sandor Martin, he would probably get knocked the fuck out if he fought Josh Taylor like that, if I'm being honest. He'd probably get slept if he fought Josh Taylor like that. He's got to be way more patient. He's got to work behind the jab. He's got to change a lot, because if he fights Josh Taylor like how he fought his last southpaw opponent, He'll get knocked out in probably like 6 or 7 rounds, if I'm being honest. So that's a sweet science lab for you. Immortality serum out.
Immortality Serum is the faction. Plenty entertainment if you asking. Game of commentary and reactions. There ain't no faking, neither is the capping. It just goes lights, camera, action.